Redditors who have found stories / post about themselves or situations / places they were at on Reddit. What's your side of the story? I live in Tanzania and was away at the coast for a few days with my buddy, and we decided to go out to one of the local clubs. As I was sitting outside, I got chatting to this younger guy who was on holiday with his friends. He told me about how someone on Reddit had given him some advice on what to do over there and whatnot. That was me. That's pretty cool. I'm the reason you have to provide photo verification on either /r/ratib or /r/Amy Ugly. Can't remember which one it was. Some weirdo posted photos of me to one of those two subs and acted like the photos were them. I can't remember what was said, but the post ended up on /r/subreddit drummer, and that's how I found it. I messaged the mods with proof that the photos were me, and I definitely didn't post them. Nor did I want people commenting on my appearance. They immediately took the post down, and the catfish who posted it deleted their account. The rule for photo verification came about shortly afterwards. Extra fun fact: the photos used were stolen from my completely private Instagram, meaning it had to have been someone from my close social circle. Never found out who did it or why. Username checks out. I found my old roommate's Reddit and there was a post asking for advice for her cat because he had been acting up a lot. She mentioned that he pooped on my bathmat, but she didn't think much of it because he didn't like me. But in reality, that cat was an absolute dumbus who liked me, even though he was an asshole. Never figured out why he pooped on my bathmat, but offended she thought he did it to be mean to me. Did she use scented cat litter? I used it once. It was meant to make the smells go away. My cat pooped in my handbag instead. I found a post my now ex but at the time boyfriend had made about a girl he couldn't forget about going on dates with, and how sweet she was, and how he wished he could still be seeing her. I was not the girl he was posting about, so that was fun lol. Now ex. Gee, I wonder why. I used to drink a lot, 1 year sober now, but have drank 3 times over 4 years, and I passed out down by our river. I was on someone's Snap story, it was super embarrassing. Congrats on being sober for a year. That's a big deal, and I hope you stick with it. I found a post that I believe described a coffee shop I frequent. From a barista I'm good friends with. I clicked their profile to confirm it was them. I found a description of our wedding, and that it was the best wedding ever. I was charmed. Finally a wholesome one. This is what we needed. I have an ex who wrote a bunch of entries about how he wanted to get me back and make up for all the hurt he caused me, and could he just manifest a reason into the universe for me to text him. He lied to me for over 3 years about the existence of his wife and 2 children. I'm very obviously not going to text his dumbass. I was on Twitter a few days ago, and this guy posted about this store that refused him refund because of Hurricane Doreen. He mentioned ThorVonHammerdong details that led me to believe he was a problem customer I had a couple weeks ago. We messaged each other. I confirmed it was indeed the same guy, and I called him out on the lies he told in his story. His post got locked, and he got thoroughly reamed. Pretty sure a lot of Twitter threads are missing information to make themselves look better. My classmate ranted on Reddit about how I was celebrating my grandfather's death, and therefore probably a sociopath. My grandfather abused my grandmother heavily, and was overall just a shitty person. I wasn't celebrating. I was just unmoved by his death. That's all. My granddad abused me twice when I was a kid. Spent the rest of my childhood and teenage years on guard to avoid any type of situation that might lead to a chance to him. When he died, I felt the most relieved I had ever felt. I wasn't happy. It was just the end of something that had taken a big part of my energy for almost a decade, and I finally could rest. That's it. My uncle did the same thing to me. He's in his 70s now, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't anxious for his death just simply so I can have that weight off of me. My ex posted in r/relationships after he cheated on me. It was a very short post on an alt account. I don't even know if he had a main, but he knew I used Reddit, basically looking for sympathy and hope, confessing what he did was wrong, but asking how he could fix it, and I saw it, because he wanted me to see it. He left it open on my computer in a next level IQ move. He left out a lot, including that he'd cheated multiple times, and lied in counseling about it. Out of curiosity I hit refresh. It got basically no steam, but 3 comments saying they hope I left him. So I did. Lol. Power move. Love it. A clip from a TV show I was on 20 years ago blew up on Reddit a few years ago. It was weird. Never outed myself though. to read about people talking about you. What clip, if you don't mind me asking? I would like to think his clip is at a fair saying, I like turtles, or maybe even warning everyone to hide their women and kids, cause they rap in everybody. Long story, cut short, my evil ex, living together for 5 years at the time, was chatting to another woman online, who he had told was single. She mentioned that her deceased husband once hit her. My ex sympathized, and went on about how he abhorred violence towards women, and could never understand why men would do that. Said she should have gone to the police, etc. I was reading it with the worst black eye I had ever seen in my life and a fractured rib, courtesy of him. Brother-in-law's wife was ranting on here about my mother-in-law, something unrelated to me entirely, and as part of the supporting argument noted that mother-in-law is constantly taking my wife and I with them on vacations but not them. What they don't know, or clearly left out, is that we split the cost of those vacations and or pay our own way, or we buy the room next time. She seems to have a victim complex sometimes, and twists scenarios to appear as the victim. The problem with that sub, is that you can't give any dissenting opinion. It's always Mill is evil and Op is a hero/victim. It really rubs me the wrong way. One of the best things about seeking advice, is getting different perspectives. So I was sexually abused by my mother as a boy, and had sexual relations with her as a teenager. I shared my story in a comment, and was messaged by a woman who was very encouraging. She said she was studying to be a social worker, and was very comforting to me. I ended up sharing a lot of details about my mother's abuse as well as the sexual relationship we had when I was a teen. Of course she was not a sympathetic social worker at all, and wasn't even a woman. Instead he used our conversation to write a story that he posted on the incest subreddit. I was a subscriber and immediately recognized my story. He couldn't post the childhood abuse details, but he used the incest details almost verbatim, just changing my age to fit the rules, and exaggerating my emotions, so that it seemed I enjoyed everything that happened. I messaged him, and he eventually deleted his post and his account, so at least my story got removed fairly quickly, which was a small comfort, though I still felt sick after reading some of the responses, and knowing that he and others got off on it. That's so messed up, dude. Hope you're doing better now. Not on Reddit, but when I looked up the reviews for a retail store that I worked for, I found one about me. It was about a girl in the returns department. I was the only girl who worked there at the time. I don't remember all of it, but I do remember it said she looks like she hates everyone. My co-workers and I got a good laugh out of it. They weren't entirely wrong. I hated working for that company, especially in that department. I had a lot of fun, though, so I don't loathe my memories of working there. A while back I posted a question to AskReddit. A few months later apparently it was featured in an article about Yacht Week. Pretty dope. The story came about in a session with one of my clients. He was a younger client struggling with substance abuse, and he was talking about how he just wanted to get rich and stay high all day. We talked about it and thought it would be cool to ask Reddit. It was fun to read the responses. Wasn't a super therapeutic intervention, but it helped build rapport with him, which is never bad in a counseling relationship. Not found on Reddit, but local news station did a story about my car at the airport. Link in description. I was just tired of everything in my life, so I drove south for a while. Saw a sign for the Kansas City airport, left my Corvette in the parking lot, and took the next flight out. Turned out to be Fort Worth, Texas. And long story short, that's how I learned Mexican border security is basically a Marine who doesn't check bags and just waves you in without a word. How much did your airport parking bill end up costing you? I never went back to check. You just left a Corvette. Damn. That's a fucking flex. I found my ex's Reddit account. Turns out she broke up with me because of an argument/disagreement we had. I remember specifically asking her, was it because of this? She said no, and gave some long ass bullshit reason. I've learned from seeing the rest of her posts that she's pretty insane. Timid in real life. Warrior on Reddit. Aren't we all warriors on Reddit? My name is something. You killed my karma. Prepare to die. You/something. This happened on Twitter and involved a good friend of mine. Last year, a friend and I were chilling at home when he read a series of tweets that was talking about some abusive and predatory men in our area. He was smiling to the names of the people accused since they were being called out until he stumbled across his name. We were both dumbfounded. how the fuck can his virgin ass be predatory? In fact, he's a really shy dude, so it was pretty obvious that he didn't do anything. But everyone was eating that bullshit up. I had to speak with the person who tweeted it out, but she was extremely arrogant, saying I'm sympathizing with a rapist because he's my friend. Days gone by with him getting death threats and shit, until she tweeted out a bullshit apology saying she called out the wrong person and she's sincerely sorry about the mishap. It was an overall tough time for us both, and I'm just glad it was cleared up. TL. Doctor. Friend was called out for being predatory towards woman until the person who called him out realized she called out the wrong person. What was the reaction to her BS apology from the people eating up her prior post? Her friends were comforting her, saying it's okay, it was just a mistake, but everyone else was pissed cause that's a huge allegation to put against someone. In fact, she ended up deleting all the tweets, including the apology, and acted like nothing happened. Were these people convicted or just accused? Your friend could probably take legal action against this person. We're lawyers. Wasn't on Reddit, but someone once posted a really creepy misconnection about me on Craigslist. I was at Target with a friend, and stopped at the in-store Starbucks while he checked out. The much older barista later wrote about how he knew he had feelings for me when our hands touched while he gave me my drink. My friend saw it and texted me, and I still haven't gone back to that Target years later. Sometimes I find confusing the line between creepy and cute. I have a crush on a coworker right now. If he knew that I think he's cute, would he think it was obsessive and weird? What does that depend on? A few years ago, the lady I'm just a horse meme, link in description, was passed around. I'm not that lady, but I'm in her social circle, and the other side of the story is that the horse actually painfully stepped on her first, and the snapshot is her reaction to that. The idea that she randomly yelled and attacked the horse first without any provocation isn't true. Can I still pretend she's mad at the horse because it's silly? I was browsing a poop thread on /r/Tifu one day and found a comment by my high school friend who had observed my at the time best friend frantically call me over to tuck his pants into his shoes so that the turd that was making its way down his leg wouldn't fall out onto the ground before he could make it to a toilet. Wait, I need more info. Why couldn't your mate tuck his own pant leg? Why was he waiting for the tuck rather than just charging to the toilet? Dude panicked. It happened in the schoolyard during recess, so there were lots of classmates around. He was stood there frozen, hoping nobody would notice, until he managed to call me over, at which point he tells me with a shaky voice, "Gabe, there is shit sliding down my leg. I need you to tuck my pants so it doesn't fall out when I start walking." I didn't think to ask questions at the time. I just obliged and watched him waddle towards the toilets. My guess is that the situation back there would have been exacerbated if he were to bend down to tuck his pants. How old were you guys? Shitting pants makes me think you guys were in kindergarten or so. Recess confirms it's elementary school, but saying shit means probably at least late elementary school. 22. Yep, kindergarten. Someone else found my ex-girlfriend's creepy fanfiction she had written about me on Reddit and gave me her user to check it out. Turns out she hadn't just written it about me here but everywhere, and written letters to me which she later started to send to me with fanfiction of us fucking on the table of McDonald's. She worked there. Safe to say I stopped speaking to her. I didn't use Reddit at the time, and didn't use it for a long time, because I thought it was weird, because of that incident. That's friend fiction. Erotic friend fiction. I asked my new roommate if I could smoke in her car. She said yes. The next day I saw a post from her saying how awful it is when people smoke in her car without asking. Bitch, what? Maybe she wasn't talking about you, since you asked. Maybe it was just the fact that you asked that reminded her how annoyed she was when people didn't ask. I actually just learned the opposite happened to me, as you can clearly see in my post and comment history. I talk about my friends and partner a decent amount. Well, one of them personally looked and found my Reddit account. Started sending stuff I was saying to another mutual friend. I have talked about wanting to die and shit. I found out that this friend was doing this months after I stopped talking to them. That shit makes me not want to use this account anymore, but fuck it. If you're reading this, bruh, seriously stop. It's creepy and weird to stalk someone like that. I hope they read this and feel uncomfortable enough to stop. Someone posted a picture about a guide I made on r/Dota 2. Was nice. I reconnected with an old friend of mine because he found a story I told about him. Years ago I told this story, link in description, involving my friend Andy from college. Later on that day I get a PM saying, "Hey, it's Andy from your story." I knew right away it was him, because he called me by a nickname that only he called me. It was cool hearing from him, because we hadn't talked in over 2 years and we ended up reconnecting. Now we are good friends again, and it all happened because he stumbled on a comment I wrote about him. I remember reading about Andy from college last May. Glad to see you again. Don't know if this answer totally counts, but I made a Lego Nintendo Switch and GameCube a while back and posted it on Reddit. Turns out a few gaming news sites wrote about it. Did you at least get any credit from those sites? Probably not. My ex replied to an AskReddit about gut feelings, talking about my male coworker who he had a bad feeling about. I did end up leaving him for that coworker. Neglected to mention that he had been cheating on me for our entire relationship, and I at least broke up with him before getting together with the coworker, now my husband of 5 years. Congrats on that. Not about myself exactly, but there was a news story that popped up on Reddit a few times. It was about a boy getting saved from being drowned by the family dog. The boy's my nephew, and he almost drowned because his mother was / is a drug addict piece of shit.